Hello and welcome. I'm glad you're here today because we're going to discuss something incredibly important for anyone over the age of 60. In my experience as a doctor, I've seen many patients who didn't realize that the foods they eat every day can quietly undermine their health. These are not sudden, dramatic harms. They're subtle, gradual, and cumulative. Over time, they affect the heart, the bones, the brain, energy levels, and overall well-being. Today, we're going to talk about 5 foods that I strongly advise anyone over 60 to avoid. These foods are deceptively common, often culturally ingrained, and yet they carry risks that many people overlook until health problems arise. Understanding why these foods are harmful and how they affect the body is the first step toward protecting your health in the long term. Let's begin with processed meats. When I refer to processed meats, I mean items such as sausages, bacon, hot dogs, and deli meats. These are convenient, flavorful, and often a part of daily routines, but they carry significant risks for older adults. Processed meats are high in sodium, preservatives, and saturated fats. Sodium, when consumed in excess, elevates blood pressure, which can increase the likelihood of heart disease, stroke, and other cardiovascular issues. The preservatives, nitrates and nitrites, have been linked in multiple studies to higher risks of certain cancers, particularly colorectal cancer. Saturated fats increase bad cholesterol levels, contributing to inflammation and making heart disease more likely. In my practice, I've observed countless patients whose daily reliance on processed meats coincided with troubling changes in their health. One patient, a woman in her late 60s, ate deli meats several times a week. She came in feeling fatigued, with bloating and elevated blood pressure. Over time, as she reduced her consumption of these foods and incorporated more natural, unprocessed proteins, her blood pressure gradually stabilized, her energy improved, and she reported feeling lighter and more comfortable in her body. These changes didn't happen overnight, but over the course of several weeks, her body responded positively, showing that even later in life, dietary changes can have a meaningful impact. Processed meats also impact kidney function and digestive health. Many older adults are already at risk for diminished kidney performance, and high sodium intake adds stress to these organs. I've had patients develop mild kidney complications that were exacerbated by consistent intake of processed foods. Beyond the kidneys, there's a broader inflammatory effect on the body. Chronic inflammation can worsen arthritis, impact joint comfort, and even interfere with overall mobility. These are subtle effects, but they accumulate over years, creating a higher baseline risk for many serious health conditions. Moving on to the second food group, sugary drinks. This includes sodas, sweetened juices, flavored coffees, and energy drinks. The primary concern with these beverages is their ability to rapidly spike blood sugar. In younger people, the body may manage these fluctuations efficiently, but in adults over 60, insulin sensitivity often declines naturally, making the spikes more dangerous. Over time, repeated high blood sugar events can stress the pancreas, contribute to type 2 diabetes, and affect energy regulation. I recall a patient in his early 70s who drank 2 sweetened coffees and 1 soda daily. Initially, he thought it was harmless, but he began to experience fatigue, low energy, and difficulty maintaining his weight. After adjusting his diet and eliminating sugary beverages, he noticed that his energy level stabilized and his overall sense of well-being improved. These changes are often gradual and subtle, but they are profound over the course of months. High sugar intake is also associated with increased inflammation, which can affect joint comfort, cognitive function, and cardiovascular health. Moving on, fried foods are another major concern. Fried foods, including French fries, fried chicken, chips, and other deep-fried items, are high in unhealthy fats that increase LDL cholesterol and promote inflammation. Chronic inflammation is particularly concerning for older adults. It can worsen existing joint problems, contribute to cardiovascular disease, and even impact cognitive health. I've seen patients with chronic joint pain who were heavy consumers of fried foods, and reducing intake of these items resulted in measurable improvements in both joint comfort and overall energy levels over time. The mechanism is straightforward. Unhealthy fats from frying create compounds that promote oxidative stress and inflammation. Oxidative stress affects the cells, and as we age, our bodies become less efficient at neutralizing this stress. Consequently, Repeated exposure to these foods accelerates cellular damage, which contributes to many age-related health issues. These effects extend beyond the cardiovascular system. Inflammation can impair digestion, reduce mobility, and even affect mental clarity, creating a cascade of subtle, interconnected health challenges. Refined carbohydrates represent another food category that becomes particularly harmful after 60. These include white bread, pastries, sugary cereals, and other highly processed grains. Refined carbs are quickly digested, leading to sharp spikes in blood sugar, followed by rapid drops, which can leave one feeling fatigued, irritable, and hungry shortly afterward. In older adults, slower metabolism exacerbates these fluctuations, making energy crashes more pronounced. I've had patients report feeling sluggish after consuming meals centered around refined carbs, only to experience a temporary spike in energy that soon vanished. Over time, this pattern contributes to weight gain, insulin resistance, and chronic inflammation. Many older adults underestimate the effect that refined carbohydrates have on their bodies, often attributing fatigue or low energy to aging rather than diet. This misattribution can delay meaningful interventions and improvements in health outcomes. Finally, excess salt is one of the most insidious contributors to health problems in older adults. While salt is essential for basic body function, excessive intake, particularly from processed foods, can elevate blood pressure and place additional strain on the kidneys. Older adults are especially vulnerable because kidney function declines naturally with age. High sodium intake exacerbates cardiovascular risk and contributes to fluid retention, which can manifest as swelling in the extremities or increased strain on the heart. I remember a patient in her late 60s who consistently added extra salt to her meals. Over several months, she developed elevated blood pressure that required medical management. By reducing overall sodium intake, her blood pressure improved, swelling decreased, and she reported a better sense of overall well-being. The effects of excess salt are cumulative and often invisible until complications appear, which is why early awareness is so important. When we consider the impact of these 5 foods collectively, it's clear that they share common pathways in the body. They contribute to inflammation, increase cardiovascular risk, impair energy regulation, and stress organs such as the kidneys and pancreas. The cumulative effect over years can be profound, particularly for someone over 60. In my experience, patients who gradually eliminate or reduce these foods often report improvements across multiple domains: lower blood pressure, reduced joint discomfort, more stable energy, and even improvements in cognitive clarity. These are not isolated benefits, they are interconnected, reflecting the systemic impact of diet on overall health. Even beyond the direct effects of these foods, there are indirect consequences. For example, chronic inflammation can accelerate age-related cognitive decline. High sugar intake can interfere with sleep, which in turn affects energy, memory, and emotional well-being. Fried and processed foods can exacerbate digestive issues, which are already more common in older adults. Addressing diet is therefore a comprehensive approach to aging health, not just a single intervention. It's also important to recognize that change is possible at any age. Patients in their 70s and 80s have reversed high blood pressure, improved mobility, and regained vitality simply by adjusting their dietary habits. The body remains remarkably adaptable, and even subtle improvements in food choices can lead to significant long-term benefits. Understanding the science behind these foods, how they interact with metabolism, cardiovascular function, inflammation, and cognitive processes, helps patients make informed choices. Knowledge empowers change, and awareness of cumulative damage often motivates adjustments that are sustainable and meaningful. Ultimately, avoiding processed meats, sugary drinks, fried foods, refined carbohydrates, and excess salt is not about deprivation. It's about making conscious decisions that preserve vitality, support organ function, and enhance quality of life. These are choices that impact longevity and daily well-being, reinforcing the principle that what we consume profoundly affects our bodies as we age. In conclusion, the 5 foods we discussed today represent some of the most common dietary pitfalls for older adults. Their effects are subtle but cumulative, influencing cardiovascular health, kidney function, digestive efficiency, inflammation, energy levels, and even cognitive clarity. Through awareness, gradual reduction, and replacement with healthier alternatives, it is possible to protect the body, maintain independence, and enjoy a higher quality of life well into older age. Thank you for spending this time with me. By understanding how these foods affect the body and applying this knowledge, you are taking meaningful steps toward better health. In my experience, the impact of these changes is profound, and it's never too late to start making choices that promote longevity, vitality, and overall well-being.